vacuum. As a safety measure, the hatch itself is being covered with this white cloth. There's also a docking fixture that's used. It's sort of a pole that sticks out from the back end of the APAS hatch. That has been removed, as it is an obstacle to crews ingressing through that hatch. Working through the steps incrementally. The crew seems to be on the timeline right now, so we're expecting the hatch opening to happen within the next 30 minutes or so of Dragon. Right now we're looking at a gap in our video coverage from the station. Hoping to beat that gap so we can see some of the crew members enter. But we will be providing continuous coverage through that hatch opening and when the crew are formally welcomed on board the International Space Station. There will be a formal ceremony. In this shot that you're seeing right now, you can actually see the bell, ceremonial bell, which will be rung upon the ingress of the 2 crew members on board Dragon Freedom, welcoming them and joining Expedition 72, rounding out 11 members of 72.
Welkom terug. We kijken naar de hatch opening. Een kleine 2 uur geleden
Three-box view that you're seeing from inside the station on the
is het International Space Station gedokt met de Crew-9 crew
on the top right corner of the screen.
Van Falcon 9 van SpaceX.
Cabin view. Gorbanov you see behind some of the seats on the view from the bottom left. And
we gaan zo kijken of de hatch opent.
By the sun a little bit until an orbital sunset as expected just minutes from now.
Er zijn verschillende hatches. Wat eigenlijk deuren zijn in de ruimtestations op de docking adapter. En de laatste moet nog geopend worden. Die zit op de Falcon 9 raket. We kijken naar een camerabeeld vanaf het ISS. Waar we in het donker zien dat de Falcon 9 raket gedokt is.
More Expedition 72 crew members starting to come into view. In the red shirt there on the left, Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexei Ovchinin, former crewmate of Nick Hague. On his Soyuz flight to the International Space Station, they rode together aboard a Soyuz to the International Space Station and joined for their expedition before returning, now reunited in space.
Station on the big loop. Step 4.8 is complete. Step 4.9 station is ready for Dragon hatch equalization.
En we zien daar Butch en Sunny van de Boeing.
We are not quite ready on our side. We'll let you know when we are.
Starliners zijn nog niet klaar.
Holding at 4.9.
Ja, dat is niet Butch, dat is iemand anders.
Mike Barrett relaying that the crew is ready for hatch equalization, doing a few things on the ground.
SpaceX Freedom on the big loop. Crew's holding in 4.9. We're ready for the hatch to come open.
SpaceX is ready.
All right, SpaceX copies. We'll be waiting for the ground to be ready for equalization, and that's going to keep us in section 6 of 4.400. You'll see us take commands and the state change in step 6.2 when we're ready to go.
Half uurtje nog, volgens de klok rechtsboven in beeld.
And copy that. And just a question on estimate on how long that'll take. We're coming up on our hour of drying time. No, check that. We got 15 minutes. We'll just wait.
Copy. Yeah, we're still a few minutes away from stepping into equalization, and we're tracking about just over 14 minutes left in dry time. We'll see if those deconflict, but we won't let the suit drying stop us from proceeding if we're already ready to step into that.
Ik zet even mijn scherm maar klaar.
Okay, copy all. And Houston, on the big loop, the APAS hatch seals look great, and no condensation noted. We did take a picture of the docking cross. That also looks great.
Houston copies.
Copy, copy.
Crew aboard Station and Freedom eager to open up that hatch. Just need to make sure everything's set on the ground. Teams are carefully analyzing all the data to make sure they are ready for that hatch equalization.
Kijk, de spacesuits die liggen nog in de stoel.
That's open there in the background, just on the far end.
En Nick en Alex die zijn gekleed nu in hun blauwe pak, waarin ze in het ISS wat makkelijker kunnen bewegen.
An obstacle from egress. In addition to noting and inspecting the APAS hatch, taking photographs for the ground to analyze, the crew did report that the APAS hatch looks great. Good news.
Centimeters van elkaar verwijderd.
And allows for the teams to continue towards an on-time opening of the hatch and welcoming of the crew aboard the International Space Station. Again, Hague in the background of the Dragon cabin shot. Gorbanov there in the foreground. Aboard in Node 2, International Space Station, on the right, NASA astronaut Don Pettit, part of the Soyuz crew that recently arrived aboard the International Space Station, commanded by Alexei Ovchinin. Ovchinin there, of course, former crewmate of Hague. They launched together aboard their Soyuz mission to the International Space Station and will be reunited at the welcoming ceremony. Hague and Ovchinin did, of course, have an abort after the launch of their Soyuz MS-10 mission. But both of them did get to go up and join the crews of Expedition 59 and 60, launching successfully aboard Soyuz MS-12 and completing their expedition aboard the International Space Station and safely returning to Earth. Again, the two reunited in space.
23 minuten voor hatch opening. Dat zou betekenen dat we zo 1:10, 1:15 de deuren open hebben. En dan is dat toch weer een half uurtje eerder dan gepland. Maar we moeten het afwachten.
Three Roscosmos cosmonauts in view on this view on the right. Who recently came through the pressurized mating adapter was Ivan Wagner, Alexei Ovchinin, now making his way through pressurized mating adapter. Alexander Gurbankin currently taking the frame in the black shirt. All Expedition 72 crew members will be present when Nick Hague and Alexander Gorbanov ingress the International Space Station. It's part of a formal welcoming ceremony. We'll continue our coverage until the crew and the ground teams have an opportunity to provide remarks during that ceremony.
Links in beeld.
Right now, again, the Node 2 hatch in the foreground of this view, as well as the APAS hatch, both
Links
on
in
the
beeld zien we
International Space
SpaceX,
Station side that's in the background, much further into
Falcon 9
are open.
en rechts het International Space Station, waar we in beeld een koperen bel zien.
Both on the International Space Station side as well as the Dragon side, both ready for opening up the final hatch.
Dat is een oude traditie uit de scheepvaart. Hey. I like to move it. Waar kwam die muziek vandaan? Ik was het niet.
So again, the astronauts in space are ready to go, just waiting for those ground teams and finding ways to pass the time.
Station and Dragon Houston on the big loop. Stand by for equalization. We're expecting it to take 3 to 4 minutes.
Equalization, 3 to 4 minutes. 3 tot 4 minuten.
Hey, copy that.
Die koperen bel die je in beeld ziet bij het ISS. Oude traditie uit de scheepvaart. Want als er een nieuw schip kwam, of een nieuwe kapitein zich bij een schip meldde, om hem op haar, nou dat was hem, welkom te heten, ringden ze de bel. En dat doen ze ook in het International Space Station, om een nieuwe crew die aan boord komt, welkom te heten. Dus die bel die wordt straks geslagen. En zo'n bel ziet er toch anders uit in zero gravity dan op de boot op de zee. Beetje een Terlanter Zee in de luchtbel. Luchtbel. Equalization is bezig. Het afstemmen van de 2 ruimtestations, de 2 satellieten. En we wachten op het moment dat equalization completed is.
This is Mission Control Houston. For those tuning in, we're continuing to wait for one last step of allowing the hatch pressure to equalize before opening up the final hatch. We've been working through hatch opening sequences over the past hour or so, about an hour and a half since docking at 4:30 p.m. Central Time. The ground teams have instructed the astronauts on board to wait until equalization is achieved before proceeding to open up with the hatch. Hoping to hear that call momentarily. This is a view from inside Dragon Freedom. NASA astronaut Commander Nick Hague in the background there on the comms. Mission specialist Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov there in the foreground.
Oké, we wachten elk moment dat de druk-egalisatie, oftewel equalization, gedaan is en we daar een go hebben om verder te gaan. Ongeveer 1,5 uur zijn ze bezig sinds docking, met alle procedures die nodig zijn om straks veilig die deur open te kunnen maken. En we kijken nu naar beelden live vanuit SpaceX Dragon 9, Crew 9.
This is Mission Control Houston. You're getting views from both inside the Dragon Freedom cabin as well as from inside the International Space Station Node 2. Astronauts on board both vehicles waiting patiently. We're waiting for a go from ground teams analyzing the pressure inside each of the respective spacecraft and waiting for a go to open up that last hatch, Dragon hatch.
Alle telemetrie data wordt nu geanalyseerd in Houston. Als alles straks goed is, krijgen we een go van Houston en dan mag de deur open.
Freedom, SpaceX for suit dry.
Freedom's with you.
All right, we're happy with the suit dry timer now, so you are go for commanding the suit fan off before we step into hatch opening.
Oké, we hebben een go. Eerst even wel de ventilator uitzetten.
Okay, copy that. We'll turn off the suit fan.
En dan zijn we toch wat
See
voor
NASA
op
astronaut
schema.
Nick Hague working on the displays, the console there inside Dragon Freedom. The command to disable those suit fans is on that console. Suit fan and suit drying procedures are done after doffing suits through various phases of spaceflight. For these two astronauts, after doffing the suits after orbital insertion, suit drying was part of the procedures there as well, before they were once again donned prior to the approach initiation burn. Those suits were doffed again after the docking sequence was complete. That includes a soft capture.
Freedom SpaceX on the big loop. We see the suit fans are off. So at this time, you are go for hatch opening per the decal, followed by the remaining actions in 4.400, section 6.
Oké. Deur mag open, maar nog wel even...
Copies. We're going to open the hatch per decal and then the remaining steps in section 6,
Section
4.400.
6 checken.
Good, readback, and we'll just follow up after
That's a
hatch
good
open on the
idee.
completion of 4.012 as well, but we can go ahead and step into the hatch hops.
Okay, copy that.
Volgens de klok nog bijna 11 minuten. Ik weet niet wat section
With
6
that
precies
from
inhoudt.
the SpaceX Mission Control teams in Hawthorne, California, relaying that the suit fan command has been successfully initiated and they are go to open up the hatch. We got a great view from inside the space station here, and we're starting to see it illuminate.
Space Station vliegt waarschijnlijk weer de dag in. Maar die beelden zie ik hier nog niet.
And now, with that, we confirm Dragon hatch is open. 6:04 p.m. Central.
Daar gaat de bel.
SpaceX Freedom hatch is open.
Die wordt in gereedheid gebracht voor
Copy,
het
hatch open.
welkomstsignaal.
Freedom arriving.
Freedom arriving.
The bell has been rung. Alexander Gorbanov, the first through of Crew 9, being welcomed by Expedition 72. Next up is Crew 9 Commander Nick Hague.
Cosmonaut Alexander komt als eerste, als het goed is,
Crew
binnen.
9 now aboard the International Space Station and joining Expedition 72.
En zoals je waarschijnlijk snapt, zijn dit de beelden vanuit het International Space Station. Bij de docking adapter waar Crew 9 zojuist op is aangesloten. En daar komt Alexander. En de bel wordt nog even geringd als welkom. Knuffeltje, lekker knuffelen. We hebben de cosmonaut aan boord en daar hebben we meteen Nick, de Amerikaanse astronaut. Die ook even lekker gaat knuffelen. Er worden foto's gemaakt. De bel wordt nog een keertje aangeslagen. We hebben helaas geen audio nu. Maar de bel lijkt het gewoon te doen. En het is weer eens gelukt, hè? Totaal 14 mensen nu in het International Space Station. Maar volgende week vertrekt Crew 8 weer naar huis. Die zit op een andere docking adapter op dit moment. En dan is er weer wat meer ruimte, maar ja. NASA is gewoon voorbereid op deze situaties. 2 extra astronauten.
Again, Crew 9 on board the International Space Station. That
Van de Boeing.
ingress coming shortly after the hatches were opened at 6:04
Er was gewoon ruimte voor.
time. Being welcomed by the crew of Expedition 72. We're going to continue our coverage here. We have a planned formal welcoming ceremony.
Er komt nog een hele welkomstceremonie. Maar voor nu ga ik er een eindje aan breien. Ik laat de stream nog even doorlopen.
However, we are coming up on an expected gap in our video communications from the International Space Station.
Nou, er komt zo nog even een storing in de communicatie. Maar
So just as the crew was patient with the hatch opening operations, we will be patient with
die is verwacht. Dat is niks verontrustend.
the welcome ceremony when we recover that video
Dat gebeurt gewoon elke orbit.
just around shortly after 6:30 p.m. Central Time.
Dat is eerder dan verwacht. Het was bijna een half uur eerder dan verwacht dat de hatch helemaal open was. En cosmonaut Alex en astronaut Nick het International Space Station konden betreden. Ze blijven daar tot eind februari 2025. En gaan dan naar huis samen met Butch en Sonny van de Boeing Starliner. Ik zeg bedankt voor jullie aandacht en tot de volgende keer weer. Houdoe hè.
Again, Haig and Gorbanov on board the International Space Station. Gorbanov in frame right now, but they're going to take some time and speak with some of their crewmates. But we will be continuing our coverage through the formal welcoming ceremony. There is an expected gap in our video communication from the International Space Station. So we'll continue our coverage until that video is regained. Begin our coverage of the welcome ceremony shortly after we regain that coverage, expected just around 6:30 p.m. It'll take some time for the crew to get set up and in position.
Again,
We'll do a
Haig
couple
and
of
Gorbanov
technical checks and be
on
right
board
on our
the
way.
International Space Station. Gorbanov in frame right
But in
now.
the meantime, stay tuned
But they're
for
going
the
to
formal
take
welcoming
some time
ceremony
and
of Crew
speak with
9
some of
to
their
join
crewmates.
Expedition 72.
But we will be continuing our coverage through the formal welcoming ceremony. There is an expected gap in our video communication from the International Space Station. So we'll continue our coverage until that video is regained. Begin our coverage of the welcome ceremony shortly after we regain that coverage, expected just around 6:30 p.m. It'll take some time for the crew to get set up and in position. We'll do a couple of technical checks and be right on our way. But in the meantime, stay tuned for the formal welcoming ceremony of Crew 9 to join Expedition 72.
And if you're just joining us, you're looking at some of the NASA astronauts and Russian cosmonauts having some fun on the International Space Station. Crew 9 officially on board the orbiting laboratory. We're now about 17 and a half minutes away from that expected welcome ceremony. We're expecting to lose these views in the next few minutes here as we pass over the southern Pacific Ocean, where there are very limited ground stations for the video signal. The space station will always have communications through the TDRS system, but not for video downlink for events like this. So we're expecting that loss of signal shortly, and then they will come back and be ready, hopefully all lined up, ready for a family photo and that welcome ceremony. But I have a feeling, based on previous missions and the fact that everybody has left, they very quickly floated down the modules and are getting a look out of the cupola at this time. I mean, it's a night pass, but they'll be coming up on a day pass. Looks like some have boarded Dragon and are checking it out. That's interesting to see on board there. So you can see there the two suits from the NASA astronaut and the Russian cosmonaut that just flew up, who are currently on station. Two other crew on board Dragon Freedom. Maybe doing some work on it, some checkouts, but also just hanging out, waiting for the welcome ceremony. It really does show the kind of normalcy of this incredible orbiting laboratory and its operations. Looks like they might be checking some things with the hatch there, as Crew 9's Dragon Freedom will be put into kind of a sleep-ish mode, but it'll always be there on standby, ready to be activated in a moment's notice to operate as a safe haven for NASA astronaut and Russian cosmonaut that flew up today, as well as NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunny Williams from Starliner. They officially have a way home. We can all breathe easy now. They have spacesuits and they have a way home. As for the last couple of weeks, they would have been coming home on Crew 8. That'll be one of the first things set up, is those two extras, the one extra spacesuit that came up with Crew 9 and the one suit that was on station will be put on board Crew Dragon Freedom. And Butch Wilmore and Sunny Williams will go through a crash course on how to fly Dragon all the way up at the ISS, as they have not been trained on that, but they do officially now have a way home. Are expecting this loss of signal in just a couple of minutes here, about 15 minutes away from the welcome ceremony. If it's your first time here,